Hi, I'm Naomi May, freelance fashion editor, and we are here with the SATCoL podcast, The Sustainable Conversation, and we are delighted to be joined by Shania McPherson, Sustainability Coordinator at Poly, and Kirk Bradley, Head of Corporate Partnerships at SATCoL. Kirk and Shania, welcome so much to the Sustainable Conversation. Thank you for joining us today. Kirk, I'm going to come to you first. Can you tell me why the work that SATCoL does is so important?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tell this story quite a lot. We started probably 5 or 6 years ago from, SATCoL have been going over 30 years now, and predominantly just a collector from textile banks. And we were approached, say probably 5 or 6 years ago, by one of the retailers to look at maybe doing things a little bit differently. The landscape of textiles has changed quite a lot, and they foresaw that in the next 10 years there's going to be a radical change that's going to need to happen. So therefore we started to work with those guys, looking at a 10-year roadmap of looking at sustainability and reuse. SATCoL have always been involved with the reuse side of things, but it was looking at how can we support the fashion industry more with recycling. Some of the challenges is that the culture that we live in is quite high consumption of textiles, and it's really about are we able to change people's shopping habits, or is that too big a challenge to do, certainly in the short term? And then should we start to look at how we recycle textiles better? So we started on this journey and started off with our fibre sort machine, which is the machine that has the ability to be able to identify fibre by type. And we're really only looking at those textiles that would generally end up in waste. So, the clothes that go into our charity shop for reuse, and the clothes that go into a textile bank for reuse, that carries on as it is, because that's the waste hierarchy, and that's the way it should be. But it's those textiles that aren't rewearable. What happens to those where normally going into landfill or incineration? How can we extract the fibres off of those to then reuse? So the first journey for us was the fibre sort machine, and that was probably 2 years ago, I suppose. We've done that, and that's revolutionised how we're able to identify fibre by type in an automatic process rather than manual. So some of the challenges with manual is the labels that are on there, they don't actually refer to the makeup of the garment. So it might say it's 100% cotton, but we know from testing that there's polyester in that. So it's not as simple as just looking at the labels. So therefore we had to do something and use technology to be able to identify, and that was the first step. And then now we've now introduced the world's first polyester recycling plant at our place in Kettering, and that's groundbreaking again. And and the whole purpose of this is to try and support the retailers, and we've got great partnerships with a lot of the retailers out there, and this is a first step, but it's a step in the right direction, and it's as I said, it's groundbreaking, it's in its concept, and hopefully we can continue to do that. And that's something that SATCoL have really pushed, and will continue to do so. The ultimate goal really for us is to be the first UK fibre farm here in the UK.
First of its kind polyester recycling machine. That's no small feat. Absolutely, for post-consumer textiles, absolutely, yeah. And tell me how you go about engaging with partners and consumers on that.
Yeah, I mean, I spend a lot of time with retailers on a consultancy basis, with a lot of them through various platforms, the British Retail Consortium and the likes of RAP. We work very closely with on looking at the recycling side. So I'm engaged with a lot of retailers in that. We've worked really hard. Everybody knows the Salvation Army, but they don't really know what SATCoL does. If you ask people at the Salvation Army, they'll know, about the help that they do for the homeless and various other things. So some of the challenges has really been, how do we get our name out there for retailers to understand that, the Salvation Army is a great charity and they do great things, but on the side of that, we've got the Salvation Army Trading Company, SATCoL, who are there and who are there looking at how we can support and looking at more and better ways to recycle textiles. So the real challenge has definitely been getting our name out there, and we've worked really hard over the last 5 years to be where we are, and things like this are great for us. They give us a platform.
So Shania, you are Sustainability Coordinator at Poly. Tell us a little bit about your role and what that looks like.
So I've been in this role for a year and a half now, which is really exciting. And yeah, do so many different things, work with all internal departments on different projects. We do stuff from carbon footprinting, in this partnership with the Salvation Army. We look at other circular initiatives, kind of like what we can do for material sourcing. And then we're also doing a lot of linen and development as well at the moment to try and upskill people internally.
That's really interesting. Tell me a little bit about specifically the online clothing bank partnership that you have with SATCoL.
Yes, I think we've been doing it since 2019, which is quite a while now.
Absolutely.
I think we were one of the first retailers to do it, so that's a really nice achievement for us. But yeah, we just want to encourage more customers to get involved basically, because it is such a simple thing for them to do and get involved with these initiatives. Yeah, and for our customers in particular, all they need to do is go onto our website. On the footer we have a thing called Donate for a Discount. If you click on that, it'll take you to our landing page, and then they just have to click Get Started, input some details in, and it'll get a QR code to submit them. They can go to DPD, InPost, Every, so a lot of local like couriers that they can drop them off at. And yeah, all they need to do is literally just pick up whatever they want to donate and send it off, and it's really that simple. So I think it's such a convenient way for consumers to get involved.
Definitely, for sure. And Shania, what does the journey to achieving your sustainability goals look like?
So yeah, I don't think a lot of people know this about Opoly, but we actually started off as a business to support the charity that our founders set up, and it's called the Brannison Foundation. So our kind of sustainability goals are all kind of running through these values that have continued since the start. And at the moment we're working on a lot of data and trying to get a baseline for all these different projects, so like our carbon footprinting or recycled materials, to kind of figure out where our targets are and where we need to get to and how we can achieve those. And then, as I've mentioned previously, we are doing a lot of linen development, and then I think it's just really important to make people aware and kind of educate people on the topic. And yeah, even just the simple basics of like, you know, why have these roles, why have we got these roles, why are we having these conversations? Yeah, just trying to instill that within the business.
When we first started this, it was fairly new, and Opoly one of the first retailers that we engaged with, and so it's been a great partnership for many years now. And I think you know, it's a convenient way for people to donate, and I think people tend to like the convenience of all these sorts of things, and you know, that's a real help. And these guys are really starting to push, you know, that side of the business as well. So it's been a great partnership, and we're really happy to have Opoly on board with us, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
Kirk, what kind of efforts from SATCoL's side encourage, in your experience, more donations? Yeah,
I mean, as I said before, you know, people understand the Salvation Army, what they do, and the charity side of things. It's really been about how do we get our name out there. And marketing's been a real plus for us, and we've really pushed that, and the partnerships we have with some of the retailers really has helped elevate our prominence in the marketplace. We've, you know, to the stage that we've won 2 Drapers Awards in the sustainability field, and that's testament to the team and how they've worked and put our name out there really, and that continues. And as I've said before, these podcasts, you know, they help to push and tell people, you know, what we're doing in this field of sustainability.
Help us to have sustainable conversations.
Absolutely.
And tell me about the role that technology plays in all of this.
I think you can't avoid technology in everything. You know, the technology side of things has been fundamental to what we do. The fibre sort machine, which is an automated, as I said, the automated system, we have to use that technology, and we're looking at other things as well. So we're looking at barcoding, how we can start to do maybe passports, you know, on textiles to track the journey from, you know, purchase to end of life, and then to look at that circular piece, how we can track that from end of life, where those yarns then go to then be reused and recycled. So, you know, technology is without a shadow of a doubt the driver behind what we're doing, and you know, we're looking at all sorts of technology at the moment. Much of it which hasn't been invented yet, and we're working with a lot of universities and engineering companies to try and come up with an answer to some of the problems in the fashion industry. So lots are going, and technology is definitely a driver behind that.
It's all very exciting.
Yes.
And Shania, what does the journey look like to kind of achieving the sustainability goals that Opoly has?
I think it's really exciting. I think not a lot of people know this, but Opoly started originally as to support a charity. It's called the Branison Foundation. So they started off with that charity, and then I think from that we've just kind of continued with that type of value as well. So at the moment we're doing a lot of stuff to figure out our like baseline data for like recycled materials, carbon footprinting, and then we're really into circularity at the moment as well. So obviously this like partnership helps loads. And then we've also got rental, which we launched in December last year, which, you know, it's working really well and customers are really enjoying it. So just trying to keep and find ways to keep clothes in circulation.
And that rental markets, I think that's a definite interesting arena at the moment. I think it's great, and there's some great companies out there that are doing that, and some great retailers that are starting to push that. That's definitely a growth area in that field. So that's great to hear that you guys are pushing towards that as well.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect opportunity for
yeah,
Polly.
absolutely.
Definitely. And Kirk, how does this impact people's lives? If SATCoL didn't do the work that it did, what would that look like?
So just to give you a bit of background, so SATCoL was the trading arm of the Salvation Army. So we were set up 35 years ago to support the charity, basically. And over the last 10 years, we've generated £80 million worth of funding towards the parent charity to do the good work that we know they do. So without having, you know, SATCoL there, that money wouldn't exist. You know, but it's not always just about that. You know, the business takes about 65,000 tonnes out of the waste stream each year. So that would be garments that potentially would end up in incineration or in landfill. So on top of the money that's raised, which is fantastic, it's also about how we're helping the fashion industry and how we're stopping garments going into landfill as well.
So Kirk, how many ways are there for people to donate to the Salvation Army?
Yeah, there's quite a few, and what we like to do is try and make it as convenient as possible. So we have 250 charity shops which will take donations over the threshold. We have about 9,000 textile banks which you'll find across the whole of the UK. So on many of the supermarket sites you'll find our textile banks there. We obviously have the take back schemes that we work with some of the retailers, including obviously Poly. And so there's many ways that people can donate to us as a business, and so hopefully we will continue to do that and make it easy for people to be able to donate to the charity that obviously raises the funds that support the good causes and support those vulnerable in our community.
That's amazing. And Shania, you are obviously sustainability coordinator. What is one sustainable thing that you do every day that somebody who might be struggling to live as consciously as they might want to, what's one thing that you do that might encourage somebody else to as well?
I think this is really simple, and people probably do it a lot anyway, but just reusing your water bottle. I have one that I literally carry around with me everywhere I go. And yeah, it's probably lived with me for a good few years now. Even at work, I always say to people when we have like development sessions or want to talk about sustainability, like I always just mention, you know, we give everybody a reusable low poly water bottle, and, you know, just using that every day at work, like you're already contributing.
What about you, Kirk?
Well, this year I've made a conscious effort to not buy new. So, with the exception of certain garments, but generally as a whole, everything will be second-hand. So, yeah, it seems to be okay. Yeah, now that's my goal, just to try how we get on this year and see how that goes. And I'd like to continue that further on in the years to come.
Kirk and Shania, thank you so much for joining us on the Sustainable Conversation today. It's been a pleasure having you with us.
Thank you
so much.
Us.